Hey everybody, this is Diane Gilson with Info Plus Accounting. I know we're a couple minutes ahead of time, but I just want to tell everybody who's here, we're getting lots of people jumping in as we're going along. We're going to have a really great seminar today. We've got Ken who's going to be talking about some very neat things you can do on the marketing side. Dan Baumann is going to be providing some planning insights for you and ways that you can add to what's going on with your clients. Of course, I'm Diane Gilson. We'll be talking about maximizing your profits with QuickBooks. It's going to be just awesome. We're going to go through some really good things. Make sure you've got a notebook handy. If you're just jumping in, you're in the right place. This is one of our Better Numbers, Better Business presentations. And our topic today is why more leads, better planning, and profitable jobs matter. Those things all make a difference, even if you have more business than you can handle, which is kind of a great thing to have happening for many people in the industry. Of course, we went through that little downturn. We won't talk about that. And now everybody's got a lot of business. And the problem is that maybe you're not making as much money as you want to. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome to the seminar today. We're about 30 seconds from the top of the hour. Dan, can you unmute yourself and say hi?
I'm here, ready to go.
Okay, Dan says he wants to be drinking some of the stuff I'm drinking, so I'll send over a virtual coffee. Okay. And
Eye
okay.
test.
Okay, yes, exactly. And Ken, you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hey.
And yeah, I don't need the virtual coffee. I've got my own supply right here. But thank you.
I know you've got what do you call your kind of coffee?
Bulletproof
A
coffee.
bulletproof coffee. Okay. So that's Ken's got his own special recipe. So okay, everybody, thanks. And I appreciate having you join us today. And we just want to inject some enthusiasm for you for the kinds of things that you can do with your business. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ken Horst. He is going to be our first presenter. I'm going to change the presenter over to him. And while we're getting Ken up so that we can see his presentation on your screen, I'm going to do a little introduction. I've known Ken for some time now, and he's actually helped me in a number of ways with digital marketing. He's got more than 15 years doing that, and he's just had hands on experience in all sorts of aspects of digital marketing: website design, social media marketing, content marketing, email marketing, pay per click. If it's there, he's done it. So, Ken, I think what we need to have you do on your side is in your GoToWebinar menu, there will be a button towards the top that says Show Screen.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, Dan, I know that you've worked with Ken for a period of time. Maybe you can jump in and chat about what your experience with him has been while he's getting his PowerPoint up.
Oh, Ken and I have been buddies for a long time here, and we're both internet marketing geeks, and we love all things internet. And so when we get together, that's pretty much what we talk about. Ken has got the practical experience of actually working for companies. She's working with U.S. Bank right now as one of their head digital marketing planners, and he still works with a lot of small companies to help them guide them on some of the internet things that they should be doing. It's really tricky out there these days to get noticed online. It's really takes fair amount of work. So you really want to be sure that you're putting your best effort, you're putting your effort into the things that will help your business the best. And I think Ken's got some good tips on how to do that. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting. You know the same, Diane. I mean, with construction, it's no different. That good website, good social media platforms, all of that kind of digital information that's available to your client base is can only help your business. So you want to get your information out in front of the right people at the right time so that you get the right kinds of leads. And I think that's basically, if we can get that accomplished, it's all good.
Right. Okay. So, Ken, I do have your PowerPoint up here in the background. You want me to just pull it up?
If that'll work, I mean, I've got it here too. Whatever works best for you.
I will go down here and be ready to change slides.
All right. Thanks, Diane. So this is, as Diane mentioned, is kind of a subset of a program that I did in the Construction Industry Success Summit. So What I wanted to do here is just in about 15 minutes, just share 3 ideas with you that you could implement fairly quickly and for pretty much no cost, or if any cost, a tiny little cost, but and start generating more leads. But the first thing I wanted to let you know, and this is a statistic from HubSpot, which is arguably one of the best digital marketing companies on the internet, is that 97% of the people who visit your website will leave your website without taking an action. That means they won't fill out a form, they won't call any numbers, they won't download anything, they're just there and gone. And this is a big problem for any company with a website. And so what I'm going to do today is share with you 3 things that you can put into play that will get it so that, you know, you're not at 97%. You can have more of the people that are visiting your site actually take an action that should mean business for you down the road. So next slide, please. So what I have on this slide is, this is what's known as like the customer journey, or the buyer journey, if you will. And it's mostly designed for big ticket items, which I believe for most of the people on the call, you're all in the big ticket item category, designers, builders, remodelers. And so typically when people are thinking about remodeling their home, let's say, it starts with needs awareness. You know, maybe my wife and I, you know, wake up tomorrow and we just start looking around our house and we're like, you know, it's, you know, our kids are leaving for college and now we want to do some updates, right? Once we hit that stage, then we're like, wow, well, we don't even know what we don't know. So we need to kind of start doing some research. I mean, ever since the internet, most buyers, especially of big ticket items, do a lot of research on the internet before they ever even reach out to a vendor for a service. Once we've done our research and poked around and looked at different sites and found different contractors in our area, we're going to start evaluating alternatives, or we're going to start evaluating the different contractors that we've seen. But the bad news for everybody on this call is that for most of us that are buying the products that you sell, we're actually doing this evaluation process based on what we're learning from your website. Because, you know, as you all know, depending upon the size of the market you're in, there's many alternatives. So we're going to maybe skinny it down to 3. And once we skinny it down to maybe 2 or 3 builders, based on what we've learned from their websites and maybe the reviews and things like that, then we'll reach out to those people through their website, either by filling out a form that says, you know, I'd like to set up a meeting, or I have some questions, or by picking up the phone number off your website and literally calling into your office and saying, hey, we're thinking about remodeling, we'd like to meet with you. Finally, after, you know, meeting with the 2 or 3 builders that we've narrowed it down to, we're going to make a purchasing decision. We're going to call one of those 3 and say, we picked you, let's get rolling. And then post-purchase, we're not covering in this video, but that's just how do you nurture and stay connected to your clients after you've done the work so that they will refer you to their friends. So the question on the bottom says, where in the process do leads come from? Well, you can see that somewhere between needs awareness and information search, I've got what I call soft leads, which we'll talk about. And then between information search and evaluating alternatives, I've got warm leads. And then from evaluating alternatives into the purchase decision is what's called a hot lead. And if you can hit the next slide, we'll get a little bit more detail about this. So with your websites, large or small, there's basically 3 types of leads. And the first one is the best one, if you will. It's called a hot lead, and it's a phone call. I'm not going to call you until I've got a really good reason to talk to you. So it's either going to be some questions that I need answered because it's between you and 1 or 2 other builders, or in fact, it's because I picked you and I'm calling to say, hey, you know, my name's Ken, my wife and I want to remodel our home. You know, we've chosen you. What's the next step? How do we get involved? That's a hot lead. When people call you, they're interested. The warm lead is when they fill out a lead form on your site. So it could be contact us, request info, things like that. The difference between a phone call and a form fill out is if I was really hot and ready to go, I'd call you. I'm not going to waste time filling out a form waiting for you to send it back to me. But there's a lot of people in that stage. So they will fill out a form and send you questions and wait for you to send it back. And they're warm, but they're not as hot as they could be. So how you respond to that request is going to determine whether or not they move into a hot lead and ultimately do business with you. And then the third type of lead is what I call a soft lead. And this is where, you know, the companies that are really using their website to grow their business are growing much faster than all the other guys that just have an 8-page brochure site going on. And this is where people end up getting added to your email list because they downloaded a white paper or a guide that you've created and put on your site, maybe like 7 things to know before remodeling your home, or 10 tips for kitchen remodeling that you got to learn, things like that. Or if you have a blog and you keep it fresh, they might want to subscribe to your blog. They're like, wow, we're interested in remodeling our home and this person's writing good blog posts. Let's subscribe and see what they're publishing this month. Or registering for a webinar, such as all of you did today. So those are the 3 types of website leads. And so now what I want to do is give you a tip for each one of those to help you get more. So Diane, if you can.
Okay, so while we're waiting for that next slide to come up, because I know there's just a little bit of a lag, any of you who have questions that you have for any of us as presenters, go ahead and type that into the question tab. I'll keep an eye on it, and then assuming we have time at the end, we can go ahead and get those questions answered, okay? So go ahead and put those in that question screen. Okay, thanks, Ken. Next slide.
Yep. So now we'll start out with the first goal, or the first tip for my section, and it's generate more hot leads. So all of us in business, no matter what business you're in on this call, you want more hot leads. First tip is this: make it easier for customers to call you by adding your name, address, and phone number, and in digital marketing, we use the acronym NAP, to every page on your website. And some of you may be doing that, but for those of you who are not, this is a very simple way to make it a whole lot easier for the people that are visiting your website. And you don't know who they are. These are the strangers that visit your site at night when you're sleeping. They've got to know that there's a format on your website, and at any page I'm on, I can scroll to the bottom and call your number right away. This is an example here of one particular site for a gentleman that does a lot of design work. Dan and I know him, and I think Diane knows him as well. But one of the changes we made from his old site to his new site is we made sure, as you can see on the bottom, that's the footer of every page on his website. Now, most of you, I'm guessing, didn't build your own websites. You probably have a web person, whether it's a professional company or a relative or someone else in the office. But I would highly recommend that if you want more phone numbers or phone calls, you take a look at your website, and if your name and address and phone number, all your contact information isn't on the bottom of every page, go to the person who built that site for you and say, we need to put this on every page. So that's how to get more hot leads. Just make it easy to call people. And I will tell you, people will leave your site if they can't find what they're looking for in seconds. People won't take a minute to find something on your site or on any site. If it's longer than 20, 30 seconds, people that use the internet, they're gone. So make it easy and you'll get more calls. And again, you're not going to get a landslide of phone calls, don't get me wrong, but just, however many times a month or a year that people want to call you, don't make it hard for them and you'll get more phone calls. So now we'll move on to tip number 2. So this is how to generate more warm leads. So again, these are the people that are interested, but not exactly ready. They're more likely to fill out a form or request info or request a quote than they are to give you a call. So once again, there needs to be a place on every page of your website, I don't care what the page is, where it says contact us. If they're on your site, they're looking around, they're looking at photos of jobs you've done, and they're like, wow, these guys look like they really know what they're doing and they're good at it. Don't make them spend 5 minutes trying to figure out how to contact you. Most sites have contact us in the top navigation, but I've seen many sites where for whatever reason, the person that built it just didn't carry that through on every web page. So first and foremost, it's got to be visible in the navigation, and it wouldn't hurt to put it in the sidebar of the footer. The more places it is, the easier it is for them to find it. And then secondly, what you want to do is you want to have a very simple form. So the form in this example just says your first name, your email address, and your question or comment. So the advantage to a 3-field form is more people will fill it out. The disadvantage is there's really not a lot of qualification in there, right? So an alternative to this would be to ask, other questions like what type of job are you considering? Kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, whatever it might be. You might ask, I've seen people ask them for where do you live now and what's your budget and all that stuff. The more fields you put on the form, the fewer the people that will complete it. And having been in sales a lot of my life, I'd rather make it super easy for people because my ultimate goal is to get them on the phone. So I don't want to stop them at the door by asking them for 11 pieces of information that they won't maybe give me. I'd rather just say, give me 3 pieces of information and, you know, I'll follow up and I'll get them on the phone and then we can close the deal. That said, you might want to add phone number as a 4th field in there. And, you know, something to consider is you could add it as an optional field, not required. So that's just, again, a way to get more leads. Shorten up your form, make sure it's easy for people to find it. All right, so now we'll move on to tip number 3. And so this is the soft lead. And so what we want to do is, how can we generate more soft leads and grow your email list? So remember, the people that are going to fall into this category of leads are not hot and they're not warm. They're very early in the stage. And quite frankly, you won't even get any of these soft leads if you don't have something on your site that people would want. So it could be, like I mentioned earlier, a guide. It could be a checklist, 21 things to consider before, you know, remodeling your home, or a template, how to budget for your remodeling project, free download, right? Or a report, the top 5 remodeling projects as far as return on investment. Now, the things that I just mentioned, if you Googled any of those, you'd find examples of them all over the web, and you could hand that to a writer or a person in your company and say, you know, create something like this for me. And what you would do is you would create that, put that information on a document with your, you know, information on it, right? Similar to the slide that Diane has, where you can see at the bottom of the slide, it's got her information and phone numbers and whatnot. But then, you know, that's what you would use. And in the industry, the digital marketing industry, we call it link bait or lead bait. The other thing is, if you have a newsletter and you're actually, you know, keeping it fresh, again, people that are, you know, early in the customer journey would be likely to subscribe to that, far more likely than they would be to fill out a form or give you a call. And finally, blogs, right? So if you're blogging at least twice a month, and you're putting out really good content that's relevant and useful for people that are could be shopping for what you do, that's remodeling or building or designing, people will see your blog posts and say, hey, this is good stuff. I'm in the, you know, learning process about this. I'm going to subscribe. But these are, you know, basically the things that really, really, really work. Now, Diane, if you would please click on etc. on that slide, I think it'll take us right into an example. So this is, again, the same site where I showed you that on the footer, we've got the name, address, and phone. We've got NAP. On the header, we've got contact us. And it's usually on the right like that. I mean, it's, you know, when every other website does it the same way, it doesn't make sense for me to put it in a different place because it confuses people online. But this person here does just design. He's just does only design work. He's not a builder. I think he used to build, but now he's just doing design, and he basically works with builders. So he's got a very robust design business with a handful of builders that they work well together, and it's just been going on for a long time. But if you scroll down just a little bit, Diane, what Anthony offers is he's all the kind of the stock plans that he's been creating over the years. He saved them all. And now he's up to about 700 floor plans that he has available. And when he and I started talking 2 years ago and change, he was literally giving people access to those. At the time, it was 400 plans. He was giving them access to those for free. And I said, geez, Anthony, why wouldn't you at least trade an email for that? And he goes, well, you think people would? And I said, heck yeah, they would. Or if they wouldn't, you don't want them on your site anyway. So we set this up literally 2 years ago. And in that time, Anthony has seen, let's see, in roughly 2 years, Anthony has received 958 names of people who gave him their name and email address. So that's more than one a day. And as a matter of fact, so far in July, for the month of July, we've got 43 new names that Anthony has acquired with that little banner there just in the month of July. And you can go ahead and click on that, Dan. It'll show you kind of where it goes. And look at how simple that is. Enter your first name and email address and get instant access. That's all of it. It is. Then when you do that, this loads into an email client. In this case, Anthony's using MailChimp, which I highly recommend because it cost him $12 a month, which earlier in the call I said, hey, it costs a little bit of money, but not much, $12. And so from there, then Anthony can send these people emails and reach out to them that way and nurture those soft leads and turn them into warm and hot leads. That's the third tip. And those are the three. And if you do these three, just make sure that you've got your phone number everywhere. Make sure that your contact us form is easily accessible and not too difficult to fill out. And you throw out a lead magnet like we discussed, you will get more business from your website with very little effort. And Anthony and I have not changed his site in 2 years since we built it. So literally, when you get 43 new names on your lead generation email list, and you haven't done anything in 2 years, that's a pretty good deal. So bottom line, these are, 3 low-cost lead enhancement techniques. It's not rocket science, but a lot of times, it's just the basics that actually get the job done. So it's the phone call, fill up the lead form and add to your email list. And as Diane mentioned, this is just literally a portion of the presentation that I did for the Construction Industry Success Summit, which we'll talk about at the end of the call.
Thanks so much, Ken. I really appreciate that. Now, I know you were going to say a word or two about Dan. So as I bring Dan up, we're running a little bit behind on time. So we're going to move over to Dan, and he's going to become the presenter. Go ahead.
Some of you may know Dan on this call, and some of you may not. But Dan previously had spent 20 years as a remodeling contractor and was doing the building and the general contracting and everything else and the design work. And that's when Dan got introduced to Chief Architect software, which he became super efficient at and effective, and then kind of shifted his business into working with design build contractors and helping them, better utilize Chief Architect software. But Dan also helps customers, his clients, builders and remodelers with all kinds of things, like how to get charged more for your design work, how to use your design work to actually close deals and things like that. So if you haven't heard Dan talk before, you're in for a treat. Dan?
Oh, gee, thanks. I'm here. Thanks, Ken, and Diane for having me on the call here today. And nice presentation, Ken. As usual, you hit the nail on the head. So at the end of my presentation, you'll see I'm going to send you guys somewhere that you could, after the webinar, you can go click on a button, leave your name and email, get something in return. It's the same thing you want to do in your business. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about making your design service a profit center. Okay, over the years, we've seen construction companies grow. We've come from an era of people, and I still see it all the time today. People give away their services. They give away their planning services, their ideas. They don't think they can get paid for what they know. I'm here to demystify that a little bit. So anyway, my slogan, better plans, equal better projects, or better projects. If you have good plans, many more things will fall into place in your business. So when we talk about, what is the problem? Planning is not a priority for people. Okay, busy contractors, they're doing 25 things a day. They don't make planning a priority. So it's kind of like they say, let's do a quick plan and then we'll figure out the rest as we go. And that's not the way to do it. Mindset does not see the value of the plan. Okay, so because you're so wrapped up in what you do every day, and because you've been doing this so long, you forget the value you bring to the process of doing a construction project, even a simple bathroom or something like that. All of the steps, the hundreds and hundreds of steps that you have to perform in the completion of any project takes a lot of planning. Okay, and you need to understand that value. Many times, because you're rushed, you don't want to take the time to sell that service. Maybe you're afraid to sell it. Maybe you're intimidated, whatever the reason, but you give it away. Okay, we don't want to do that. And bottom line, the bottom line in your business, the profits, because you're spending all your time doing these other things, gets ignored. So plans are not a commodity. I'm here to tell you that. They're not something you can just go pick up at the corner store. Even stock plans that you get, there's still a lot of things that have to go in after you have those plans. Someone has to figure out, will it fit on the lot? What are the materials, the estimates, the timeline, who's going to do it, et cetera, et cetera. There's hundreds and hundreds of details that have to go into each project. Plans are not a commodity, and neither are you. Don't give away your ideas, your information for free. Now, just real quickly, let me run through this. All of the different things that you do in your business, okay? You've got an incoming lead, and all of the steps it takes to qualify that lead. You go visit the site to look at the job, okay, and all the things that happen there. Now someone's got to design the project, okay? So from measuring the existing house to coming up with ideas to working through a final design. Someone has to estimate the project. So take the design that you've done and someone has to estimate from that. In many cases, you know, I've seen people estimate from just sketches. You know, for some guys, maybe that works. In this day and age, I see a lot of people failing when that happens. Someone's got to do the proposals. Specify everything that goes into the project. Then you've got change orders on the project. Then you got the actual completion of the project. Then you've got the punch list. Then you've got the review of the project and warranty work. So you see there's a lot of steps that go into any project. And when you kind of look at the whole process right here, from marketing and getting the leads, qualifying, selling, getting the design, measuring and design selections, producing the estimate proposal and produce the project, there's a lot of things that have to happen. Whether you're doing this alone or whether you have a larger company, there's a lot of steps that take place. What I'm here to tell you, and what happens a lot, is the measure, design, and selections process doesn't get the attention it deserves, okay? So you end up with a big gap in here, and you end up with a little saying that lousy plans will equal lousy projects. In other words, if this happens, kind of guess what's going to happen to the rest of these things down here, okay? This is where people have problems and they get into fighting fires all day long because nobody knows what's supposed to happen on the projects. So it's very important that plans get done right. So you know what goes into a plan? You know, you guys, if you've done plans, you've got your initial concepts and ideas. You got full working drawings. Now this is the things that happen after you've qualified the client. Okay, we're not even talking about that right now. Okay, you don't want to go out and just work for everybody. You want to qualify the client. So, but you've got initial concepts and ideas all the way through to full working drawings. There's a few things that have to happen in between here, okay? And it just doesn't happen overnight, okay? Accurate, well thought out and detailed plans for any building project include things like discovery, concepts, selections, 3D plans, details, estimates, variances, sun studies, aging in place surveys, blueprints, budgets, energy, green. Okay, so there's all these different things, codes, drainage, historical. I was just working with a client from California yesterday that we had to do a separate plan for this project that he's been working on for a long time, demonstrating that he was not, in fact, tearing out 50% of the exterior walls, because if he were tearing out more than 50% of the walls, he would have to call this remodeling project a new home. So we spent 2.5 hours defining this and putting it on a plan that would demonstrate to the building departments in California, this is a remodeling project. He, in fact, had 57% of the walls remaining, not less than 50. Anyway, things like that. Different areas require they have different regulations, different requirements. It varies quite a bit over the country. So when you start this process, okay, you have to determine, is it free or for a fee? You know, are you a good fit for the client? You have to establish reality with the client. Establish credentials that you're the people that can handle this job. And that all leads to a design agreement, okay? So this is part of the process, the sales process. What I always recommend to contractors, and of course designers, you sell your plans as part of making your living, but contractors need to go in with the idea that they're selling the design agreement, not the project. Okay, sell the design agreement, sell your qualifications to do the project. Once you get the design agreement, you've got a platform where you can now work really well with the client to create a set of plans that works for everybody within their budget, okay? So you'll do things like as-built plans. I've seen really lousy as-builts in my days. So if you have a lousy as-built, you're probably gonna have a lousy plan because your plan won't be accurate. And you know, you're gonna end up spinning your wheels and fixing things all the time. So I've taught a lot of people how to do really nice as-builts up front, take the time it needs to do good as-builts. And when you have accurate as-builts, the chances of having a much more successful project increase greatly. So especially, you know, that's remodeling, not new homes. Once you've got the as-built, now you've got to start working on those conceptual ideas and plans. You've got to go through the preliminary planning stages. You've got to work toward the final working drawings. Okay, so that process of design, as-built, conceptual, preliminary, final plans, and then there's other things too: the estimates, proposal, contracts, documents, interior design specialists that have to be brought in to do things. You'll have structural engineering, surveyors, environmental history, all those things that I talked about earlier. All has to go into this entire process. So you have to charge for those services. You can't give this away. It's very important. And what are your current qualifications? Are you an existing design consultant? Are you an experienced designer, experienced contractor, builder, certified designer, certified AIBD, licensed architect, experienced estimator, and other, some people that are experienced in all of these areas. All right. So when you're experienced in a lot of areas, you deserve to be compensated more because you're going to do a better job for the client. What's the value of these services? A drafter, 15 to 25, entry-level designer, 25 to 40, intermediate designer, experienced designer. I know designers that charge $400 or $500 an hour because they're that good. Of course, they're at a little bit different marketplace than I would be. Per square foot rate for new homes, people will charge 35 cents. I know guys that charge 35 cents for house plans. Shame on them. All the way up to 550. As remodelings as built in the plan, 1 to 8%. Remodeling as built plans and estimates, 4 to 12%. And architects will generally get somewhere between 5 and 18%. Those are just rough numbers. Don't rely on those. You have to kind of figure where you fit in this whole process. Where are you in your professional business world, and how do you fit in there? So recognize the value of well-done plans. Better plans do equal better projects. Sell the design services. If you don't have the skill to do the design, or if you're too busy, which happens often, and I see this with a lot of small contractors, the $1 million contractor in less in sales, somewhere in that range. Make the design process a profit center in your business and charge enough for those services so that you can go out and hire someone that can come in and do the plans with you on behalf of your business. If it's a subcontractor, or you actually hire someone to come in and do the plans for you in your business. If you're charging enough money, you can support the overhead that it takes to do that. So that's what I really want to encourage. The number one path to a commitment, the reason that this is all so important, that you charge for your planning services, even if you don't charge a lot, you should charge at least something. And keep in mind, so if you get 10 phone calls, you get 10 calls, you got 10 leads that have come in and you've qualified, they're pretty reasonable leads. I used to do this back in the day when I was young in my remodeling career. I'd get 10 calls, I'd go out on 10 appointments. And I would have to do 10 plans, and I would do them for free. I would do 10 estimates, and I'd do them for free. And I'd do 10 proposals, and I'd do them for free. Plus, I ran my business. So I was doing about $650,000 to $700,000 a year in remodeling by myself back in the mid '90s. This was actually the late '80s. I guess I was probably more like 500,000 at the time. I would close about 3 out of 10 of those. I was kind of a busy guy. I didn't sleep much. All right. What I propose that you do is make design a profit center. Since it's the number one path to commitment, now you do 10 calls. And at this point right here, all right, you're going to qualify them for the design process. All right, you're going to charge a fee. You're going to get a certain percentage of those people that are going to say, nah, just shopping for ideas. I don't need you to come out. I'm not willing to pay for that. You get the keyword, they're shopping for ideas. I've actually heard that from people that have said, I'm just shopping for ideas. I don't need that. Or I'm shopping for the low price. And, unless if you like doing low price jobs, go for it. I wouldn't recommend it. So instead of 10 appointments, now I do 3. I get rid of the 7 people that aren't necessarily serious about the project. Now I'm getting paid to do my 3 plans. I'm getting paid to do my estimates, and I'm getting paid to do the proposals for the project. Okay. And out of these projects, I'm going to close 85% of them to do the construction. So really from this, where I'm getting 3 out of 10, I'm getting, 70%, to this, where I'm getting just about the same, just a little bit less than 3 out of 10. Same thing, I'm working 70% less on all the projects because I've weeded them out. So think hard about that and really do what you can to design a profit center in your business. Benefits of a well-done plan: you'll make more money, you'll have happier clients and workers, because the people out on the job site now will have plans that they can go by, and they're going to make fewer mistakes, and they're going to get the projects done quicker. It'll be more profitable for your business. You'll get more referrals because you'll have happier clients. You're going to get fewer callbacks because the job's done right. You're going to have time to spend with your family now because you're not working 50 hours a day trying to get everything done that you normally do. Summary: planning must be a priority. Mindset must reflect it, okay? So, and again, when I say planning must be a priority, the time it takes to do good planning must be a priority. The mindset must reflect that, okay? You have to go in it with the mindset that good plans are important. Actions must show it. The time spent on a job, the people that you hire to bring in to help you with your as-builts, to help you work through the design process, must show it. And the results being nice plans that you have with your client, complete with all the information that you need. The bottom line will reflect it. Okay, so the process, the entire process from day one, when you have good plans, and then you start everything else from the proposals to estimates, all the way through the design, the build of the project to the final closing of the project, it will be reflected in the fact that you've taken time to do good jobs. And that will inevitably become more profits for your company, for your efforts, for everything that you do. So that's my little talk, what I would recommend that you do. You don't have to do it right now, but go to chiefexpertsacademy.com when you have a chance. That's my website. And you'll see on that website a place where you can go down the 15 reasons you should be charging more for your home plans. That's going to talk about some of the things I've just covered, plus 15. I'm going to give you 15 really good points that'll help you with your mindset. It's the kind of thing that when your client's objecting to the reasons that they should pay for a plan, you'll pull this out and you go, well, here's, number 4, 5, and 10 are the reasons that we charge for our plans. All right, so take a look at that and check it out. I really would recommend it. I put a lot of effort into that handout, and over all my years of design, I've been designing for 24 years, and I was a contractor for 20 years before that. I've seen a lot of things happen with people. I've helped a lot of clients make design a profit center in their business. So that's me, Dan, with chiefexpertsacademy.com.
Okay, thanks a bunch, Dan. Maybe you could do a little introduction while I'm flipping things back over to my screen. I will have to move a couple things around out of Ken's presentation and into mine. So if you
You
could
bet.
chat a little bit, and I'll be with everybody in just 1 second.
Diane Gilson, good friend of mine, we met online many years ago, and we finally got to meet each other in person, I don't know, about 3, 4 years ago. So we've been friends for a long time. We've done a lot of internet collaboration together. Like Ken and I, Diane and Diane, Ken, and I get along great when we talk about internet marketing and the ways that we promote our business. And that's one of the reasons we're on a call today. I mean, we're here to promote our business. We're here to help educate you as best we can. We're giving you free content. You're not paying for this. It's our way to promote the services that we offer. So Diane is the founder of InfoPlus Accounting and BuildYourNumbers.com. It's a great website. And maximizing your profits with QuickBooks is one of the talks she gives in the summit, and she's going to talk about some points from that presentation that she did. Basically, what gets measured gets managed, and that's kind of what Diane's all about. Diane is a top 100 QuickBooks professional. She has been doing this a long time. She's developed some systems, some platforms, some products that you can use in your business to really make your QuickBooks do exactly what you need it to do. So the part that I most love about what Diane does is, again, what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets changed. If you're making money, you keep doing the same thing. If you're losing money and you can look at it in black and white on your numbers, you go, we got to change something here. And Diane will help you with that.
Okay, thanks. So I'm just going to step through some things initially out in the Construction Industry Success Summit. You've seen that logo on all these slides. These are all kind of extracts. Ken, Dan, and I have done extracts, and we'll talk about that here as we get a little bit further along, so I'm going to buzz through what I have. Of course, I can't get through 13 things and make any sense, so instead I'm going to be looking at the first three of those 13. So my philosophy is very similar to Dan's. BBI yields BBR, which means better business information yields better business results. And of course, that's kind of the theme that you see that we're doing these webinars around, have been doing for a while. As Dan said, what gets measured gets managed. Peter Drucker, of course, and there's some information. You'll have access to all these slides. We'll make those available just before we sign off. You'll be able to download and receive these. Okay, so I'm going to show you, you saw that little form on the front page. We're going to start with number 1. So the very first thing that you can do with your numbers is start dividing your cost out across the different jobs so that you can see your income, your cost, and your gross profit and the gross profit percentage for each job. And I've got some samples here. So job A, I put a nice big star on it. We've got gross income sitting at 100%, and then by separating our numbers out between these various aspects of costs, we're able to see how much did it cost, what was our gross profit, and look at that, we've made 33%. So that means this income is 33% of what we charge. That is really a winner. It's a star. Our job B, we had a $90,000 job, but our costs were pretty high. We spent 96% of our income on that. That left us with 4%. Gee, that's not very good on a job that size. It's only 4%. And let's say this company has a target. They've established a target that they want 25%. Well, obviously, job A did really well. It exceeded it. Job B, although maybe they didn't lose money, but they certainly didn't come in anywhere close. Job C is right on target at 54,000 with 25% gross profit or 13,500, and then we've got our loser over here. So this loser, look at that 6,600 has more than offset this one that was already not very good, and that 66, the rest of that, if you think about how do we even these out, it pretty much offset our really good job over here. So knowing what's going on with individual jobs is really important. Over here, we've got some company overhead costs that hasn't been assigned to a job. So let's look at, that's your number 1. So we're going to create a little path here for you. Number 1, job cost reporting. The second thing is now we take those job costs. If we have gotten our estimated income and our estimated cost into the estimates in our QuickBooks program, and we do this with items. I don't have time to get into the specifics of items, but this report kind of represents what so many people who come to work with us want to see. They want to see the job stages, and you'll see those down the left hand side of the screen. I'll show you right there. These are different job stages with headers and subtotals and so on. And they're able to see their estimated cost in the first column, their actual cost in the second, and their dollar differences. And there are different ways to show the revenue depending upon what type of job you're doing. So when you can start to see these very specific details, they're going to help you review and determine how you're going to achieve profitability on each and every job. You can see these as the job progresses, and then you can see them after the job is done. That's our second piece, estimates and variances. The third tip that I have to provide is to work around purchasing controls. Now, as I said, there's going to be 10 more other tips that are in the other presentation I do, but this one is very interesting because a lot of people totally bypass this in QuickBooks. The POs or purchase orders in QuickBooks let us move through the process without having to enter data twice. It's a very neat process through the system. You get your estimate in. From the estimate, you can click a little button and say, I want to create purchase orders. And once you get purchase orders in place, even if you don't send them out to your vendors, there's a lot of good reasons to send them to vendors, but even if you don't, when you go to enter a vendor from the bill, everything pops in off of that purchase order, the job stage, the quantity, the dollar amounts. And so when it's time to enter your bills, checks, or credit cards, you can immediately see, is this what I intended? So if there's an issue, you can do something about it. So that's your item number 3. So I tried to get through that as quickly as possible because we want a few minutes to show you a little bit more about something that we've created, and that is the Construction Industry Success Summit. So I'm going to take you over there. And then we're going to spend a few minutes, each of us talking about a few things on this Construction Industry Success Summit. So I think Ken is going to talk about a couple of our presentations. I'm going to slide on down, and sorry if this, I don't want to make anybody seasick. This is a whole list of all the different presentations that are included. As I recall with our notes, Ken's going to talk about Charlie, who does one on architecture and photography, as well as Kevin. And then we're going to go on. Dan's going to talk about a couple of the people where he was involved, and I'll talk about a couple of the others, and then we'll kind of go into, how everything works out here for this. So let me, Ken, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, your
Bright-eyed
turn.
and bushy-tailed.
Okay, good.
All right. So, in addition to the 3 sessions from Diane and Dan and I that we just provided a preview of today, and it hopefully gave you some useful stuff, there are 17 other presentations in this summit. But the 2 that I was going to talk about are the one from Charlie, which is architecture and photography. And Charlie is a professional photographer, and he specializes in real estate. And when Diane and I discovered him on the internet, Diane has gotten tired of hearing me say that the most important thing for a builder or a contractor or even a designer on their website is to have super high quality images of the best work they do. And most people don't have that. And you've all heard the saying that you only get one chance to make a first impression. So there's only 2 ways to put really awesome photos on your website. Take them yourself or hire a professional. And more and more of the builders that I talk to and their modeling contractors just figured out that they're never going to take them good enough. So they just started paying the money. In the case of Kevin, who I'll talk about in a minute, he says he pays at least $500 per job to a photographer to make sure that he has the right photos to put on his website and house and other digital platforms. But Charlie, in his session, basically, if you're going to do it yourself, if you want to take your own pictures of your own jobs, you can certainly do that. And heck, with most of the mobile phones today, you've got as good a camera as professionals have. Charlie gives you a lot of very easy to understand and easy to implement tips on how to take better pictures of the jobs that you're doing now, so you can put them on your website or on your house page. And then when people do find you, and they, again, if you don't have really good pictures, remember, these are people trying to decide if they like you or not without talking to you. So photos are the way to go. And Charlie did a really great job of just teaching all of us how to take better photos of real estate and construction projects. So the other person I wanted to touch on just briefly was a session that Kevin Transu did. And I met Kevin Transu through Dan at one of the IBS summits. I think it was like 3 years ago. And Kevin is a very, very high-end design, build, remodeling contractor in Kansas City. About a year and a half ago or so, Kevin reached out to me and said, hey, I've got entered into the HGTV Fresh Faces of Design contest. And he said, can you help me, try to win this? And I'm like, sure, but it'll be a ton of fun. And basically there were 9 categories in this contest, and they had to, each person had to win their category. And then once you won the category, the group of judges chose from among those 9 as the ultimate contest winner. In the end, Kevin won his category, but didn't get the final nod from the vote. But to win the category, he had to get, using social media and things like that, he had to get people to like him and vote for him. And we did a pretty good job of that. But Kevin's session is really awesome because he walks you through the entire project from start to finish and explains to you. It's kind of an interview because I actually interviewed Kevin for this presentation. But he explains all the things he did throughout this process to come up with a project that was actually, he didn't even submit it, somebody else did. And when HGTV saw it, they're like, wow, this is an award-winning project. We want him in the contest. It's great. He talks about, meeting the clients, about scope creep, as you all are probably very familiar with that. And in this project, he basically took a barn that was on these people's property and turned it into a party barn that looks like a very nice bar, in a small town. I mean, it's amazing what he did, but it's a really fun session. And Kevin is very transparent about the whole thing, how he got it done, from, the meeting the client and talking about the job in the initial meeting, all the way through to, being notified that he was a category winner for HGTV and he would be submitted for the next round of voting. So I think if you get a chance to see that, it's I think you're gonna find it's really enjoyable and very informative.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Dan, you were going to talk about, I believe, Dawn and Bernie.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing Dawn for this summit here, and it was very informative. Dawn is a registered architect. She's been doing design for a long time. She runs a really great business. And the interview, I don't remember how long it was, but we talked for quite a while. She's a great resource to learn about some of the things you need to gain the confidence to charge for your plan. So her and I had a great conversation, and I think you would really enjoy her presentation. She really steps you through the process that she uses, and it works well for her. Again, she does quite well in her business. And the other person I was going to talk about was Bernie. And Bernie, again, good friend, he kind of fills in a gap here in my presentation from Ken to where you sell your design services. Bernie offers a great program. How should I say it? He also offers a great program on how to qualify the clients. Okay, so if you get a call and he's got this whole scenario, this whole process that you go through to qualify the client to make sure that they're right for you. Okay, not so much if you're right for them, but you want to know if they're right for you to fit your business, and he helps you qualify that. So he's got a really great service, and his presentation here will help you with some of that.
Okay, and then I'm going to jump in and just briefly introduce, and of course, we're not covering everybody. You can see a huge number of people out here. You can see previews for every one of these individuals. Of course, this whole summit is offered as a package, so we'll get to that in a moment. Mike Michalowicz, really pleased to have him. He was our keynote speaker, and he talks about how profit first, it's a whole concept, works for construction companies, and he addresses how to keep more money in your pocket as you move along. He's got some really revolutionary ways of doing that. I love his presentation and his approach. I've implemented some of those things in my own business, as well as right down here. Okay, sorry, I'm getting there. Dennis Dixon. Okay, this is kind of a black and white picture of Dennis, but he has a great presentation on stupid things contractors do which land them in court. Confessions of an Expert Witness. He has been in the construction business his entire life across a wide range of different kinds of construction projects, all the way from residential to commercial, and he also acts as an expert witness, and he talks about ways you can avoid ending up in court. Those are just a few highlights, and you can go out here and see previews. You can go out and look at, if you click on it, you'll actually see bios for each one of our presenters, so if you want to know more about them. So what I'm going to do is go down. I want to respect people's time. There are a few other things I'd like to talk to you, all of us, to talk to you about the value in the summit and how it works, but I don't want anybody to miss out on the opportunity to get the access to this and the discounts. Okay, so right now the summit is at $297. That's more than 20 hours of online training. And if you know Dan, okay, and you go in when you go to purchase this and you put in the code DAN100, you'll get $100 off of this. Okay, and if you know me and you want $100 off, you put in BYN, which means build your numbers. Letter B as in build, Y as in your, N as in numbers. BYN 100, and you'll get $100 off. So that gives you the all access pass. Dan, why don't you talk about a few features of the summit? And while you're doing that, I'm going to drag the slides over so there are, oh, somebody says love profit first strategy, and we'll hang around and answer questions and so on afterwards if you want to stay. But I want to go ahead and get the slides out there for you guys.
Diane, I sent you my slide in an email.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to handle things in the background. Why don't I flip over to you? Can you get onto this site and
Yep.
show people around? I'm going to make you the presenter.
Or you want to put the link in the chat for everybody to get to the
Oh,
page here?
sure. Yeah, hold on. I'll put it right here. Good idea. Yeah, our presentations, we gave you guys too much information. Our presentations ran a little longer
Yeah.
than we intended to. So, whoops, that's just to organizers. Hold on. I'll try it again. I'll send it out to everybody, the entire audience. I'm going to hit send. So that's in the chat. So you could come out to this site if you want to look around at things. And in the meantime, I'm going to make Dan the presenter while I pull those slides in for you. Okay.
Here we are, show my screen. So when you get to this, we put a lot of effort into this, and I hope you appreciate it when you get there. We've made it really easy for you, and for a lot of reasons that we wanted to make it easy. The number one was we wanted to provide great content. So Diane went out and contacted a lot of these people, or she contacted everybody, and Diane's really responsible for putting this all together. But we worked in tandem as a team to get everything on the site for you so that it's easy to access. You can listen to it on any device. It doesn't matter if it's your phone, computer, wherever. So it's totally portable. I listen to these presentations while I'm driving. You have the option when you go into a presentation, you'll have the option to, here, I'll go open mine. How about that? So there I am. And see if this takes me in there. There we go. Okay. So once you're in here, you'll be able to watch the video. Everybody did a nice presentation on slides. It's not just audio. Everybody did a lot of effort in putting the slides together. You'll have a little bio for everybody. You'll have downloads that you can get. You can download all the presentations, and you can also download the audio files. So if you're concerned about the video size eating up your bandwidth on your phone or something like that, you can download the audio files. So it works really well. In the play panel, you'll be able to scroll through all of the presentations and just click any one at any time. A little bit, YouTube-ish, and it will autoplay to the next one. So you can really get in here and watch all the different presentations. So very straightforward. Again, we worked hard to make it really simple for you and full of information. So you'll have access to this one. Diane, I think you're going to talk about some of those things, but that's my little spiel. You want to talk a little bit about it, Diane? You had some things you wanted to say?
Sure. I don't know if you mentioned downloadable slides. So speaking of downloadable slides, all the handouts are out there for anybody who wants to grab them out of GoToMeeting from today. Not only that, but for all the presentations, we put really nice slides, kind of like you saw on the screen today, for every presenter. So you can grab those. It's of course 24/7 access. You can watch it anytime, whether it's the office or home. It's what I call lifetime access now. I mean, 2, 3, 4 years, somewhere in that. We don't have any intentions to take this down. So when you get to it, it'll be there for a while for you. So you can fit it into your schedule. You can share this with other people in your company. One of the things I don't know, Ken, travel costs, maybe you and Dan can talk about just for a normal conference. If you're going to show up in person, what kinds of travel costs might you encounter? If this was something where you had to go to Dallas or Orlando or Las Vegas, how much do you think something like this would run you?
Well, I can tell you because I was at a conference in Las Vegas for 3 days for Adobe. And in that time, I was able to attend fewer sessions than are available in this online summit. And I spent a total of about $2,800 and 3 days out of the office. And that was in February.
Okay, so the idea was to make this really convenient, really easy, and very affordable. So more than 20 hours of training at $297 less the $100 discount fees or discount codes that you would put in. Dan's is Dan100, mine is BYN100. So as speakers, we're offering you that discount. So I've got those slides out there for you, and I know I've got Q&As out here, and in the background I've had to pull up a lot of things And now, okay, here are my questions. Okay, that people typed in. You can go ahead. We'll stay here and answer questions. So I did get a question from Pamela Kenny, and this is for Ken. Do you think prospective remodeling clients would sign up for a webinar?
You know, I think that some would for sure. And it really would depend on the topic and the title. But yeah, I think a lot of people would. And especially if you put like in your sign up page, sign up. And if you can't make it, we'll post the webinar online so they can watch it later, if you will. I would definitely try it. I think it's a great way to differentiate yourself from your competitors and really make a connection with prospective customers out on the internet.
Well, the cool thing about doing that, if you did a webinar, it's going to offer you great credibility right out of the chute, and just have fun with a webinar. I mean, I do a lot of them. And the other cool thing you can do is you're going to create content. So you're going to have a video from the record what you do, and you can now start to post that on your website. And that could even be an opt-in that you use, like as Ken was talking about. You have a little form. You want to watch our presentation, give us your email, and we'll send you to the form to the presentation.
And to your point, Dan, you could use parts of that thing also on your YouTube channel if you have one, or in Facebook, which is like the second biggest video channel out there. And the other thing I think to what Dan just said is the interesting thing about webinars, like this one is no different, but usually about half of the people that sign up show up. So if you did put, a webinar out there for remodeling prospects, and you got 20 signed up and only 10 showed up, well, I wouldn't say boo-hoo for me. I'd say, hey, you know what? Those other 10 that didn't show, you do have their contact info. So that's what I would call a soft lead, and I would try to nurture those, even though they didn't come to the webinar.
Well, and you're creating content for future leads. So that it's just a win for everybody all the way around. You provide good content, good education to the client, to your clients, and you're building content for your business.
And I want to say our local home builders association for a number of years, a while back, put on something called the ABCs of remodeling, and it was just different people, remodelers, coming in talking about different aspects of remodeling on an educational basis. And if you're brand new, if you're just starting to think about, oh gee, maybe I want to think about getting my kitchen remodeled, I mean, you're in the dark. And so the ability to really learn anything about the process is highly appealing. And so if you've got that created, once you create it, you can use it over and over again.
Exactly.
So, okay, cool.
You see, there's a comment for me from Cindy. Cindy, you had asked about how to introduce and sell the idea of a design agreement on the initial phone call. I think before you go out on an appointment, you need to make it clear to your client that yes, you do. You're a professional service. You'll do a complimentary initial consultation. Notice I didn't say free, complimentary. That'll give you a chance to go out and meet the client if you want. Now, if you listen to Dawn's presentation, she does not do free consultations. She charges for her. I passed her by, but anyway, she charges for everything that she does. Great presentation in that regards. But again, go to my website and get this free report. Why free plans and estimates are a thing of the past, and read it. And just think about the 15 points that I'm making in that handout. Those become some of the answers to the client's questions. Well, why do you charge for your plans? Well, it's because we want to do the best job possible for you. And in order to do that, we need to be able to focus on your project. And, that takes time. And, we do offer that service of doing designs for your projects. And part of what I talk about in that presentation also is the money that a client spends on a good set of plans will actually save them money in the process of the project. There will be less mistakes, less cost overruns, less change orders, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes a win-win for everybody. So it's not like you're taking money from the client, it's like you're helping them save money. So you just need to incorporate that mindset into your how you talk to your clients. And again, Bernie talks about that too. In his presentation, he gets into some of that. And then on Bernie's website, he does offer presentations about how to do the qualification on the phone. So I hope that helps.
Hey, and the young lady that I carpool with, her and her husband are in the process of building a home. So it's not remodeling, but pretty close enough, right? And again, they went through this process like I illustrated in the customer journey, and picked out a guy and got to the point where they needed some initial drawings. And I think she said it was 5,700 or more. It was at least 57. It was either that or 7,200. It was
Mm-hmm.
one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And she, and I said, wow, well, did they build it into the price of the home? And she goes, no, we had to write a check for that up front.
Right.
And they just did, because they didn't know anything different, and they were comfortable with the builders. So
Well, and that's excellent. That means they've got a good builder that's really focusing on. I mean, they're making the design a profit center in their business. That's good, because they're spending the time it takes to do a good set of plans for their clients. They're going to spend the time helping them lay out the house properly, to do all those selections, to make sure that all of the special order materials are going to be there on time, so there's no delays. And the list goes on and on. So they can afford to do that because they're getting paid for that service. Someone's got to pay for the time it takes to do all of that. And unless you, have really good profits and you want to call that kind of service marketing, go for it. But use Diane's system to track all of that, so you know exactly what you're doing, so that if you say this isn't working very well, we better start charging. Well, now you have the documentation to show you that, yeah, you need to make that change.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that the builder said, and this isn't your final cost for design, this is just for the initial drawings. There's, they know they're going to be charged more for, the final drawings and the prints or whatever else they need.
A lot of contractors I work with will charge for the different phases of the design process separately. So they'll, the conceptual designs will be one phase. The more detailed designs will be another phase. The working drawings will be a phase. The estimating and proposal writing will be a phase of the design process. So there can be a lot of different phases involved in putting the plans together.
Okay, so that kind of takes care of, and of course, all of us could sit and talk about our particular specialties literally for hours. We do it in the background on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about, there are 17 other people out here who, I mean, these are well-known folks in the industry, okay, that are going to bring you really good insights, good ideas. Just as one single idea out of one of these could, pay for the summit 10 times over. So we wanted to bring you top quality and in a way that was easy to consume for you. So that's Dan's just kind of scrolling through, and maybe you could click on one of those and just show the page. Did you show them the page and what it would look like, Dan? If you click on view presentation, it will take you actually out here. You can, play it back. You can download it on audio, etc. So we want you guys to know about this, and we hope that you've enjoyed this set of excerpts. And of course, you can get in touch with any of us. In my slides, actually, I do have some free giveaways and some links out to my site, so you can just click on those, and all of those handouts are available for you. And I'll just kind of ask in the question screen just before you leave, if you have ideas for future webinars that you would like to see us do. Let us know if you like this one, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of, and we'll put that into the seminar bucket, and we'll be doing more of these in the future. So I want to kind of wrap with saying thank you so much to Ken and to Dan for everything that they did. They were very instrumental in putting this, although I kind of headed it up in the background. They were very instrumental in many of the pieces and parts of the summit. And so it just seemed like a really good combination for the three of us to kind of do our segments for you. So,
Yep. Yeah. Thank you too for all your hard work.
thanks, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It wouldn't have happened without you, Diane, for a fact.
Yep.
Well, it takes a team to get everything
It takes a
done.
village.
Exactly. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody. Have a pleasant, if you have a little bit of your afternoon left, terrific. Use it wisely, and have a great evening, everybody. And we'll see you on our next Better Numbers, Better Business webinar. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.